All right, let's get into it. So today's project, we're going to be building our API. We're going to be just setting up our project, the back end alone. We are going to get 3 of these routes made. We're going to be installing dependencies. We're going to get a sample test running and expecting something. We're going to get some tests, some of our routes working and test passing. And then we are going to, we're just going to get all of our routes passed. And so we're also going to be using today a lot of ChatGPT. Haven't used it a ton in the past, so I'm kind of excited about using this with you guys. I think for setting up node projects and anything in JavaScript, there is a lot of setup. And honestly, a lot of times if you don't make a lot of new projects, you set things up once and you don't do it again, potentially for years. It's very rare. So we're gonna use ChatGPT instead of trying to reference the documentation if we can, and maybe we'll have to go to the docs if we can't figure something out. But we're gonna give it a try. Let's open up our project. We've got an empty project. I'm using Golang as my IDE. That's just what I use. It's one of the IntelliJ products, so very similar like WebStorm, stuff like that. So let's go ahead and we're going to make a new directory. We're going to call this our API. And within our API, let's go to the command line and we're just going to do a quick init. And here we go. We've got our sample package. So let's install some stuff, and I am going to use ChatGPT for this. So let's actually get some, let's give me a prompt, give me a sample project. How do I install, we're going to use Express and TypeScript. We're just going to do this and see. So we've got our package. We've got, okay, this is installing TypeScript. And, okay. This is not, can you give me a sample project using Express, TypeScript, and NodeMon, because we want it to build with watching for file changes. Let's do that. So this looks like a little bit more. We're going to also need to reference getting some stuff tested, but I think we can try this out for now. So let's go ahead and install. This is Express, TypeScript, our types, our NodeMon. Okay, let's just get a tsconfig file. So let's get this up and running. Let's get things installed. I've never actually created a new tsconfig file, so let's see what this looks like. Okay, wow, that is a lot of boilerplate here. Wow. Okay. You know what? We'll just keep all this up. I guess it's documented. It's documenting a lot of stuff for us, and maybe actually when we want to change things in the future, we'll actually have some docs. This is actually pretty cool. Never seen this before. So let's see what else we need. We need an index.ts file. That sounds good. So here we go. Index.ts. Let's paste this in. Hello, Express and TypeScript. Oh yes, very good. And we've got a little scripts. And our scripts are going to be here. And let's see, we've got a start. That compiles. Okay, let's see if things are going to be working for us. Okay, TS node exec not found. Do we not have TS node? Well, let's just say, let's ask ChatGPT. How do I install TS node? Very good, very good. Here we go. This is actually pretty funny that it's already referencing our other file. So it's saying, hey, replace this with TS node. We already had TS node in here. So that's actually kind of funny. We already had that. It just didn't ask us. Okay, so it looks like we're running. Let's see, localhost. Very good, very good. Okay, so now in our project, we've got our dependencies. We got body parts where we need to install, so we can actually work with some routes and some the body, post bodies, jest and super test. Yeah, let's get some basic tests running. Let's ask ChatGPT. I'm pretty sure we can just go ahead and npm install body parser. Do that ourselves. But let's go ahead and install. How do we use jest and super test in the above example, in the above project? And can you give a sample test? Okay, here's our other dependencies, and I believe this is going to be it. There is some lint and an ESLint that we will be installing in the future as part of this project setup as well, but I don't think we're going to do that today yet. So we've got update TS config for jest. So let's see what these files say. This is already true. And we've got common JS and ES6. So what's our target? ES 2016. So let's just do ES6 and common JS. So I think we're set up there. We've got just scripts. Okay. Okay. Then we are going to put in our test to run jest. And then this is saying create a app.test and a test directory. Let's go ahead and do that. I think we're also going to be needing a jest sample file. Oh, here we go. A jest config. How do I modify the above jest file to only pick files with a certain prefix? With a certain file type. So here we go. This is about what we wanted here. Test match. In truth, we're probably not. I don't really want to put my. So let's put this whole thing within our jest config. Just.config.js, and we'll throw these tests in here now. We're just getting things set up, and we have here's one more. We also need to copy in our sample. Oh, we've already got our sample server, and we want to copy in this test, and we're going to throw it in this test directory for now. So we want a new folder, and I think I forget if this is the name of it that it said. Sure. Okay. We're going to restart the IDE to hopefully get our imports working, and our imports are still not working. Let's export our default. Let's export our app express. So now we've got a express thing. I'll say, let's ask why. Well, let's first get and see if this is working. So we're going to do npm run test. The test suite failed to run. Could not find a declaration for module super test. There you go. Okay, now no complaints. This code looks really bad now, but we're just trying to get things set up. Okay. So we've got everything set up now. It looks really bad, I know, but like I said, we're just gonna get things set up, and then we're gonna start modifying what we're actually working on. So we've got our dependencies, we've got all our express, and we're gonna do a very first our very first test in here, and that's, we have our API routes that we're gonna be writing today. And so let's write this first method, this get/task, and it's going to return an empty array for now. So let's come here. We're going to make a new folder called routes, and we're going to make another new folder called tasks. What I like to do in these is we'll have our routes and our actual route itself. So this route we're building is going to be API/task. So I'll actually put that, we'll make a route folder, and when we want to search for a specific route, they'll all be in the same shape of our route. So let's move this into our routes folder. So in folder is task, and we will just have a default index.ts. And this is going to, so let's come back to our app. We are going to app.use body. We're going to use body parser. And let's ask, I have some docs for our express routers. And so let's go ahead and just use this as well. This is basically, we are going to, very simply, we're just going to use this here. We're going to come to our index. Let's paste in the entire thing here, and we're going to do, we are not using express in this file. Oh yes, we are. So we are going to do import express from express. Our router is equal to that. We don't need to use a middleware at all. We know that this is the home page. We're going to export default router. And so this is actually going to be our task route. So as I said before, we are going to very simply, we're going to just return response.json an empty array. Now we should have really done this. Let's also go ahead in here and we are going to make our test. So we're going to do our task dot, we're going to do this end-to-end.ts. So let's go ahead into our sample test that we have. Let's come in here, and this is our app. So we can do source, the whole thing. Oh, we're not actually in source yet. So let's make a source folder. We're we're going to throw all this in here. All of our real code is going to be within here. We're going to take that for now. We're going to drag these guys into source as well as our index. So we're here and here. We're going to take our tests. We don't need those tests right now. Source.index. Perhaps it's referencing index. Perhaps I need to do relative and paths match. Yes. So I think what this means is our source directory. Let's see. This should have everything. So here's our base. Here we go. So our root directory for TypeScript is in our source directory. We are actually not outputting anything currently, which is probably not a terrible thing right now, as long as it doesn't complain. Our test match, I think we should be matching on this. This looks pretty good. However, I don't think we need to only be matching that, and we'll do our end-to-end tests as well as our other tests, things that are called this. In fact, we're going to call this out. I'd prefer them to just be called unit or end-to-end. Those are the different types of tests that we're going to run. And is this complaining? Still, our test was. Okay, this looks, oh, let's see if we can change this to source. Oh, our base path is the source. Here we go. So we can reference our index. Not really sure if I like how we are actually importing the app from the index every time. But, oh, this is actually referencing here. You know what? We can just, let's ask ChatGPT. How to build items, build app from source directory. So we've got everything in source, and our output is in our dist. Oh, we need to have an include. So that's in our TS file. Okay. So it's not our root directory. It is in our include. Let's find where that's at in here. What does this look for? Again, it's include source. So let's look for include. Oh, there is none. Let's see where this is. So this is outside of compiler options. Okay, so this is a top level. And I think that looks good now. We'll see if it actually is complaining. So can we reference from source? The above is. Now, your built JavaScript file should be in your dist. Okay, let's throw this in here, this output directory. Output. Is this within our compiler options? It is. Outer. So we're going to uncomment this. And it's a dist. I'm going to try to copy this. It is on as we possibly can, and it is still complaining. Well, for now, we can use our let's see if any of this even runs now. So the tests still do run. The above cannot find source.index. Can you give me an example file that references the index in another directory in our supertest file? So here are sources here, and this is still a relative path. I would really prefer not to use relative paths. I suppose we can hold off so we're not going to waste too much time on this. So let's go ahead and run our tests again. So let's get this. We're going to be describing our task route. We're going to be doing our get task, and we're going to say it should respond with 200. Sure, that works. And then we'll make another task with empty body to strict equal with empty array initially. And let's see. Okay. So we need to actually include our route into our, so we're actually using it in our app. So let's go ahead and import task router. Look at that. It's already, okay, we're gonna use tasks. I don't actually want it to use tasks. I want to use task instead. Let's get our this detect open handles. I think what we need to do is after we finish our tests, we need to do some cleanup. So we're going to do, I believe it's after all, we are going to provide, we're going to do an app.close. Async. All right, let's ask, how do we close our server express? I believe that's what's hanging on. So we're listening. Oh, so we're listening on our app, but our servers actually gets returned from our listen statement, and we're returning our app. So let's const server, and let's export default server, and within our, so we're going to actually have our server here. Instead of us needing to do this every time, let's just do it once. So let's just do API is equal to that. Now it's probably not going to like this because of this await. So I think we'll just keep it as is for now. And let's see if our tests are passing. Let's rerun them and see if our server's closing. Okay. So let's ask ChatGPT. Let's get us watching code changes. How do we use supertests and watch for code changes? Okay, this is pretty simple. All we're going to do is just do a just.watch. So let's go ahead back in our package. Let's make one more. So we can just do just watch. We just run watch. Did I not add this correctly? Oh. Test watch. Here we go. Watch is not supported. We need to use watch all. Okay. Alright, if we press enter, we're coming back. We expected this and we received a 200. Oh, and that's because it's responding to our server. So this is actually looking really good here. Response body is equal to that. Alright, look at that. Really meandering our way through everything, and yet we still have got where we wanted to go, and that is we've got this task and it's returning an empty array. It's basically doing nothing. So let's actually add some tasks here. We've got our empty. Let's add a task, and then we're going to come back and see if it's actually being stored or not. So let's go into our route. We have our test. We have our route. I think we're mostly set up now. We'll continue to clean things up. And in the next video, we're going to actually start to add all of these. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through a sequence of events here, and then we're gonna make them all work. So let's actually not make this be here. We're gonna just call this describe the task router, and after all of them, we are gonna close the server. But right here, we're gonna do describe, and then right here, we're gonna describe the task route, and that's going to continue to do the existing tests. But here we're going to do describe get task, and before we get there, we're going to actually do describe so we're going to put this in our test itself. Get task. We'll take these out. Get task should respond with 200. And get task should respond with an empty array originally. Then we're going to do a get, we're going to do a post task should respond with a 201. And let's stub out a couple. So it's going to respond with a 201 and the body of the created object. Then our get task should respond with the created item. And we're going to fill all these in, but we're just going to stub them out so you can see where we're going. Then we're going to come in here and we're going to do put task should, you know what we're going to do is we're going to do two of them. We'll do two posts. second created object. Created items, test, put task ID should respond with 201. I believe it's a 201 still. And the body of the updated object should have just been copying these all along. And then we have one last get. Get task should respond with the updated items. And I suppose we should have one more for a delete. And that's going to be delete task ID should respond with a 201, I believe. We're going to have to check on that. And then with the updated item. So let's actually go through this. We're not going to have these other routes yet, but we'll be able to. So we've got our response. We are going to, okay, well, how do we send this? We're going to look as an example using our buddy over here. Give me an example of using super test and posting a route. So here's our server. Hey, look at that, it was a 201. Accepting. So here's our response. Okay, we weren't too far off. So we're going to be hitting our task. We're going to be sending it. So our schema is going to look like this. We're going to have all of our tasks, and we are going to have pretty simple. All we're going to have currently when you create a task is simply the name. So you look at our API route, we're just applying the name in it. So we're just going to send a name of test1, and we expect coming back so we expect body.name to equal test1 to not, and we also expect the UID to not to equal undefined. Okay, so let's hit this. This is a 404, which is to be expected here. So let's come into our routes, and we're going to do a post. So when you post this, we are going to also have a interface of task. We're going to have to move this out at some point, but for now we're not going to worry about it. So we're going to have a string, we're going to have a UID, and that's going to be a string as well for now. So when this body comes in, can we actually do this? So I haven't used Express before this in a very long time, and I've never used it with TypeScript, so it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. Can we? Very good, very good. Oh, but this is with our task. So how can we response body? gonna worry about it for now. And so we're gonna have up here, we're gonna have all of our tasks, and this is gonna be a task array, and it's gonna be empty at first. Actually, it's not gonna be an array. We'll do an array. It should be quite small for now. And we're just gonna do task. We're gonna assume the validation's all currently working. And we're just gonna go ahead and paste our body in. We are also going to assign it an ID. And it's interesting that it did not complain about us pushing this in. Interesting, meaning our types within Express are not really all that great. So we are going to do the UID is equal to task.length plus 1. And we'll put this whole thing to the string so it doesn't complain. And our name is going to be body.name. And then from here, we're going to simply pick the last item that we've just put. So right here, we have our post. Our post is responding with a 201. Our second post is working. It's funny enough. Our first post is not, and it's because it's receiving so we can do response status code of 201. And I believe that is it equals 201? Okay, so that's now passing. That's great news. So our second test, these are all actually failing, technically. Can we force fail these? Failing. There we go. Fail, fail, fail. Or maybe they should be skipped. All of our tests really should be skipped because they're not doing anything yet, are they? Technically, what we should do is we are going to get our task with the created items. Well, we haven't done the second one yet, but what we can do is let's take our old body, and when it fetches this, we want it to be coming out with two items. And this one's going to be a UID of 2 and a name of test2. We're going to have this one, test1, test1. This should be failing. And now it's being skipped, so let's unskip that guy. Okay, now this is actually passing an empty array back, which is interesting because we are not sending it back properly. All right, so we see that we're only actually getting back one of these items, and that's to be expected. So let's go into our test, and pretty simply, we're just going to copy this guy over. And this is just to kind of give us a more realistic, I don't want us to, I want to make sure we're actually saving multiple, not just one. So we're going to do it this way. Our tests are still passing. So let's actually go and edit. We're going to edit the first one, and we're going to call it updated one. So can we just take this and modify it? Our post. So we're going to put to task. We're going to call it task 1 because it's that UID of 1. We're going to do updated 1. And it's still the same here. We would expect it. We want it to come back with our new updated 1, and we want our UID to equal 1. So this is actually coming back failed. So let's come and add a put. So this, let's look up how to reference. We have our params. So this is Express, their documentation. And so this thing is saying, okay, we can, if we put it like this, Okay, so we look okay. We can just put task ID like this, and then we can actually reference them out of here. So we'll call it task UID because we're using UID. So we'll do a UID is equal to our task params. And from here, we're going to search for that task, and then we're going to update it with our body, whatever the body has sent over. Now, we haven't done validation. We're going to add that later on. We're just going to get these tests passing for now. So let's do a simple tasks. We're going to do const task. We're going to find our task, and we are going to edit it in place. So how do we actually do that? So we'll do we could do a find technically, but we'll do a loop. We'll just search for it in a loop. So we're gonna do const task of tasks. We're gonna find when this UID, so if task.uid is equal to our UID, then we're gonna say the task name is equal to our request.body.name. However, this is not going to be very extensible. So instead of this being like this, let's actually allow us to just override it with our task, and we'll put the request.body like this. So we'll copy over all our parameters into our task, and then, in fact, actually, we'll just do this. We'll do let task equal to task. And we'll do T, and then we'll say task is equal to T. We'll update our task, which is a reference in the existing task. Will this actually update it in place though? Well, let's just ask ChatGPT. How to update object in array in JavaScript. We can find it. This is map. Okay, interesting. I suppose that would work though. If we just map, that'll do it right there. Yeah, we can do that. I still don't like that very much though, because we need to still save it up top. I mean, we can map it and then we can find it after. I suppose we can do it that way. So we'll do that, and it'll just return undefined if not. So task.map, and if our TU is equal, if the current task that is being searched is equal to our requested. Oh, no wonder why this is complaining. Let's call our task UID the UID. Then we are going to request.body, request.t. So this should update our task. And then if not, we're just going to return the T. Then we're just going to return, we're going to response. Actually, we're going to have to do a task because we don't want to send back we'll do a 404 if we can't find the task at all. So we'll do task equals task.find t uid equals uid. Response.status code. We'll say if no task, 404. We'll send, or we'll do response.status code equals 201 and respond.json, the task itself. So let's see if this is looking what we want it to be. Okay, so it's responding to be a 404. So let's see, is it actually getting our task? Is it seeing this at all? Hello. Is it seeing? Oh, it's because we're using a put instead. Okay. So it is getting this through. We are finding that. We are logging our task. It's responding with a 404 instead of a 201. Let's go ahead and just restart our test to make sure we're using. Okay, so it's still using a 404, and it is responding to our code here. We are expecting it to be a 201. We are logging it out, and it's responding. Oh, because it's not a task. Okay. We're gonna update this here. And we are expecting it to be updated 1 and not test 1. And let's see what our test is actually saying. So our test is actually saying this. Our name is still test 1 here. We probably should be returning this. So test name 1. So let's console.log out our body and see what we're actually sending over. Name is updated 1. We're sending, we should be echoing the body. We should be echoing the existing task and then putting the parameters over the top of that. Now I see name updated 1. Returning this. We're still here. Task.map. I wonder what chat. Oh, it's because it's not updated. We're modifying the return type, but not the original. It would have been nice to do this in line, to be honest. Does it say how to do this in line here? Yeah, we would have been doing find index. Yeah, I guess that could have, and then we could have just returned this. Yeah, it's honestly probably a better way to do overall. Then you can modify everything right in place. So yeah, let's do that instead. So index is equal to task.findIndex. T UID is equal to the UID. Then if index is equal to 404 is equal to -1, let's make sure that this is, yes, goes to -1. Then we'll do our guy. So we have an index itself. Now we can just say the task. We will do our task.index is equal to task.index and request.body. And then we will do our status code equals 201, and we can actually just return this. Come up, and we can just do this, and we should be passing. Yep, and now we're passed now. So our next test that we're going to be doing is we want to make sure that we're actually updating and we're responding with all of our updated items. So let's go ahead. It's going to be very similar to this test here. Let's come in, we'll drag this guy, let's unskip him. And we should have updated 1. And so our test should be failing initially. And yes, because this guy should be updated 1. It's not 1 anymore. And this is working. So now we need a delete. And our delete, if I were to guess, is going to be very similar to our get. And in fact, I think we can just copy this guy down. Delete should respond with a 201. Potentially. So let's go ahead and delete this guy. And we're going to delete 1. I guess a lot of these we're not expecting. With 200 and we'll do both of these. A lot of these codes should be very similar. So we're going to do a 200, that's a 201. This is a 200. This is a 201. This is a 201. This is a 201. And we actually, our body should not, we should just expect a 201 here. Our body's going to be empty when we delete. So let's unskip this guy. Our get is still going to be a 200, and our delete should be the only failure. And we have not implemented that one. Router.get. So we are going to be doing delete on this same ID. So deleting on the same ID, we have our UID. We're going to go in, and this should be quite simple. We're going to, if there isn't no index, if index is equal to -1, respond. Hey, where did this guy go? This is the same thing. This is going to respond in a 404 and dot send. This is the same thing here. That should be up here. Where did he go? An extra? No. Okay. So our tasks needs to be filtered out. So we're actually going to do a let here. This is really just a temporary feature. So it's going to be tasks until we get a database working. Tasks, and we are going to filter T UID does not equal our UID. And that is going to just do a response.send. It's going to be empty. This should pretty much pass immediately. Oh, we're still at a 404. So, what are we receiving as our UID in our test? We are receiving. Oh yeah, this is our params. Router.delete. Put. Here's our delete. Are we not hitting the correct route? Response.delete. We are not. Response.delete. There we go. And now we're failing. We're passing here. And on our very last test today, and I know it has been a pretty long video, but we've done quite a bit. Our last test should be removing. We had our array of 2. We deleted the one with the UID of 1, and now we should have a size of 1. Unskip, and there we go. So let's clean up some of these console logs. And here we go. So today's video, it's been pretty long. Next one, we're going to do some cleanup. We'll do some refactoring. Really, thank you for sticking with us, and we'll see you next time.